I gathered all my courage to confess my feelings to her, but she said, "Why didn't you say sooner?" Its swirling blue and green clouds reminded him of Earth, though it was a world far away. He had been living here for nearly a year, maintaining the station's complex systems and ensuring everything ran smoothly. But tonight, his mind was elsewhere. Lyra. She moved through the biodome with her usual gentle confidence, examining the alien plants with care. Her hair glowed faintly in the soft lights of the dome, and her eyes reflected a curiosity and warmth that made Eli's chest tighten every time he looked at her. She had no idea how long he had admired her from afar, how many times he had rehearsed the words he wanted to say. Tonight, he had decided, he would finally tell her. A soft beep from his wrist communicator reminded him of the station-wide announcement. A rare cosmic aurora was about to appear, visible only from the planet's surface below. Humans on this station might only have one chance in 50 years to witness it fully. And Eli had planned to use it as the perfect moment to confess his feelings. He swallowed hard, his throat dry, and walked toward the biodome. The corridors hummed with the quiet rhythm of the station, and the walls reflected the soft blue glow from the lights above. He passed crew members who waved at him, busy with their duties, unaware of the storm of emotions swirling inside him. Lyra was kneeling beside a patch of luminescent plants, her fingers brushing the leaves gently. She hummed softly, a tune so low that Eli could barely hear it. The melody seemed to reach inside him, making his pulse quicken. He paused, unsure if he should call out, worried that he might ruin the moment. No, he had waited long enough. Tonight he would speak. He took a deep breath and stepped closer. "Lyra," he began, but his voice caught. He cleared his throat and tried again. I wanted to tell you something important." Lyra looked up, her expression calm but curious. "Yes, Eli," she asked. Her voice was soft, but it carried a warmth that made him even more nervous. Eli opened his mouth, ready to speak, but before the words could escape, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed across the station, and a low hum vibrated through the floor beneath his feet. The gravity simulators had malfunctioned. Eli's stomach lurched as he realized what was happening. The station was going into zero-G chaos. People were floating in the corridors, bumping into walls and struggling to secure themselves. Eli's heart raced. This was not the time to freeze. He had to reach her. He had to survive, and he had to speak to her before the moment passed. He activated his stabilizer boots and propelled himself forward, using his engineering knowledge to navigate the twisting corridors. A toolbox floated past him, narrowly missing his head. He reached a junction and saw Lyra struggling to hold a tray of delicate plant samples. "Lyra," he called, floating toward her. "Grab onto the support rail." She looked up, startled, but smiled when she recognized him. Together they worked quickly, securing the plants and stabilizing the area around them. Eli's hands moved with practiced efficiency, adjusting gravity nodes and securing panels. Lyra watched him, impressed by his calm and skill under pressure. Finally, the chaos subsided, and the station's gravity slowly returned to normal. Everyone took a deep breath, adjusting to the sudden stillness. Eli's chest heaved, but his mind was entirely focused on Lyra. The aurora had begun. Through the biodome's glass ceiling, waves of green, purple, and gold shimmered across the sky. The colors reflected in Lyra's eyes, making them shine even brighter. Eli felt a lump in his throat. Now, he had to speak. "Lyra," he said, his voice trembling slightly but carrying a determination he hadn't felt before. I like you. I've liked you for a long time. I was afraid to say anything, but I can't keep it inside anymore." Lyra blinked at him, her lips parting in surprise. Eli's heart sank for a moment, afraid he had ruined everything. Then she laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes in the calm night. "You're going to say something, aren't you?" she said, her eyes twinkling with amusement. Eli blinked. I already did," he stammered, feeling embarrassed. "No," she said gently. "I mean, I've been waiting for this." He stared at her, unable to believe his ears. "Waiting?" he whispered. Lyra nodded. "Yes, I thought you might not notice or that you were too shy. I wanted you to say it in your own time, in your own way, but I guess I was hoping sooner rather than later." Eli felt a warmth spread through him, a mix of relief, joy, and disbelief. He had imagined countless scenarios where she might reject him, where he would have to hide his feelings forever. And yet, here she was, smiling at him, having hoped for the very words he had finally mustered. The aurora above them seemed to glow brighter, painting the biodome in shifting colors that mirrored Eli's elation. He took a cautious step closer. You liked me too?" Lyra's smile widened. I do." Eli laughed, a mix of relief and happiness. The tension that had gripped him for so long melted away. He realized that sometimes courage was about more than words. It was about taking a step forward, even when the future was uncertain, even when fear whispered in your ear. They stood together, watching the aurora, sharing the quiet thrill of a connection finally spoken aloud. For a moment, the rest of the station, the work, the endless routine, none of it mattered. Only the two of them and the sky above, shimmering in silent celebration. "Thank you," Eli said softly, almost to himself, "for waiting." Lyra reached out and took his hand. "Thank you," she replied, "for finally saying it." The moment stretched, filled with unspoken words, laughter, and the gentle rhythm of their shared breaths. Outside, the aurora pulsed across the planet below, a reminder that the universe could witness human courage and emotion, that even in the far reaches of space, hearts could connect in ways that transcended distance, time, and fear. Eli felt his heart soar. He had faced the fear, spoken the truth, and discovered that humanity's greatest strength was not in technology, systems, or even survival. It was in the courage to feel, to hope, and to connect. And in that moment, under the cosmic lights, he knew that this was only the beginning. For tonight, Eli had gathered all his courage, and it had changed everything. The station had settled into a strange quiet after the brief zero-gravity chaos. Eli and Lyra remained in the biodome, hand in hand, watching the auroras shimmer above them. The colors shifted and danced across the sky, reflecting in the transparent glass walls that separated them from the planet below. For a moment, everything felt perfect. But then another alarm beeped, a soft, urgent chime this time. Eli pulled his hand free reluctantly and checked his communicator. The gravity stabilization system was still unstable. Small sections of the station were experiencing intermittent zero-G pockets. People were being tossed gently, sometimes spinning uncontrollably in the hallways. Eli's stomach tightened. "Lyra, we need to move," he said. "I have to make sure everyone stays safe." She nodded immediately. "I'll help you, let's go." They floated out of the biodome together, moving toward the nearest control hub. The corridor lights flickered softly, casting elongated shadows on the walls. In some areas, objects hovered in midair, pens, tools, even personal items from crew members' lockers. Eli reached out, grabbing a floating wrench and securing it with a magnetic clamp on the wall. "Be careful," Lyra said, glancing at him. "I don't want you to get hurt again." He smiled faintly. "I've done this 100 times, I'll be fine. You focus on keeping the plant safe." They worked as a team, moving through the station while maintaining their balance. Eli recalibrated gravity nodes, rerouted power, and patched small control circuits. Lyra assisted by moving floating objects and calming disoriented crew members. Together, they were a seamless team, a blend of engineering skill and biological knowledge, courage and calm under pressure. As they rounded a corner, a young crew member floated helplessly near the ceiling, spinning slowly. Eli grabbed his arm and steadied him. "Hold onto my arm." "I've got you." The crew member nodded, relief evident on his face. "Thanks, Eli. I didn't think zero-G could feel so strange." "It's tricky," Eli admitted, adjusting the gravity field around them to stabilize the corridor. but humans are good at adapting. That's why we're still standing, even when the universe throws us upside down." Lyra smiled at his words, squeezing his shoulder briefly. Eli felt a warmth spreading through him, stronger than the fear of the malfunction. For the first time in a long while, he realized that courage was not just about speaking your feelings. It was about action, teamwork, and staying calm when the world around you seemed unpredictable. They reached the control hub, where a bank of monitors displayed the entire station. Red indicators showed unstable gravity pockets in several sections, including the docking bay and the storage corridors. Eli swore softly under his breath, already moving toward the first hotspot. "Do you want me to help with the calculations?" Lyra asked. She hovered beside him, her tablet in hand, ready to analyze the station's data. "Absolutely," Eli replied. "I need someone to calculate the gravity nodes, energy requirements while I manually stabilize them." They divided the tasks. Eli moved from panel to panel, adjusting magnetic stabilizers and checking sensor arrays. Lyra worked quickly, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. Numbers and symbols reflected in her eyes as she calculated energy flows, adjusted node outputs, and suggested minor changes in real time. It was challenging, but together, they made progress. One unstable area after another began to return to normal. Crew members cheered quietly as gravity resumed in their sections, a small victory that reminded everyone how human skill and ingenuity could solve even the most unexpected problems. As they worked, Eli noticed Lyra watching him closely, a faint smile on her lips. "You know," she said, "you're better under pressure than I expected." He chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. "You mean I don't look like a complete disaster while floating upside down?" "Exactly," she teased. "You're graceful in a slightly awkward human way." Eli laughed, feeling the tension ease slightly. The zero-G chaos was still serious, but her presence made it manageable. There was a rhythm to their teamwork, an unspoken understanding that made even the trickiest situations seem solvable. They reached the final hotspot, the docking bay. A cargo container had floated near the ceiling, blocking access to vital airlock controls. Eli floated upward, his stabilizer boots propelling him gently. He grabbed the container, straining slightly as it resisted movement. Lyra extended a hand, offering support and guidance. "Careful with the weight distribution," she advised. "If you move it too fast, the airlock system might misalign." Eli adjusted his grip, listening carefully to her instructions. With a careful push and tilt, he maneuvered the container into a stable position. The airlock controls became accessible again, and the monitors indicated that the docking bay was secure. "Got it," Eli exclaimed, floating down to the floor with a satisfied grin. Lyra clapped her hands softly. "Well done, that was impressive." Eli's chest swelled with pride. It wasn't just the technical achievement. It was the realization that humans could rise to challenges, think quickly, and support one another in ways that no other species could. In the chaos of zero gravity, they had worked together, and it had made all the difference. But just as they began to catch their breath, another alarm blared, different from the first. This one was accompanied by a flashing yellow light. Eli frowned at the monitors. "What now?" he muttered. Lyra looked over his shoulder at the data. "It's unusual. The sensors are detecting a small anomaly in the station's core energy field. It's faint, but it shouldn't be there." Eli's brow furrowed. "Could it be a system error?" "Possibly," Lyra said, "but the readings are consistent across multiple monitors. It's like something is interacting with our energy network." Eli's mind raced. They had stabilized the gravity, helped the crew, and restored order, but now there was something new, something they didn't understand. He looked at Lyra. "I think we should check it out together." She nodded, her expression serious but calm. "Agreed. We'll figure it out together." They moved toward the core access bay, floating past secured panels and monitoring stations. The station hummed around them, its systems stabilizing after the recent chaos. Eli felt a sense of awe at the human ingenuity that had kept this massive structure functioning in deep space. Every panel, every wire, every node was a testament to what humans could achieve when they worked together. At the core access bay, Eli opened the heavy hatch and floated inside. The room was filled with complex machinery, wires snaking across the floor, and softly glowing energy conduits. Lyra hovered beside him, her eyes scanning the monitors and sensors. "There it is," Eli said, pointing to a small fluctuation in the energy field. "It's subtle but definitely there." Lyra frowned, examining the readings. "It's almost like the station is responding to something external, or maybe to us." Eli blinked. "To us?" "Think about it," Lyra said. "Humans are capable of incredible things when we work together, when we show courage and empathy. Maybe this anomaly is reacting to that human energy." Eli considered her words. It sounded impossible, but in the vast unknown of space, perhaps impossible was just the beginning of discovery. He reached out and adjusted a control node, watching the anomaly respond. A small pulse of light traveled through the conduits, flickering in rhythm with their actions. It was subtle but undeniable. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's alive in a way, not a person or animal, but it's reacting to us, to our presence." Eli felt a thrill of excitement mixed with awe. Here they were, ordinary humans in a massive space station, and yet they had encountered something extraordinary. It was a reminder that humans had a unique capacity for curiosity, creativity, and empathy. That capacity could reach beyond the known, touching mysteries that no one else could. For a moment, they floated in silence, staring at the glowing anomaly. The zero-G chaos, the alarms, the fear, it all seemed small compared to this moment of discovery. Lyra reached for Eli's hand again, giving it a gentle squeeze. "We make a good team," she said softly. Eli smiled, holding her hand. "The best team." And as they stood together, floating in the hum of the station, they knew that the universe had something new to teach them. Something that would require courage, intelligence, and the human spirit. Because humans, Eli realized, were capable of more than they sometimes believed. They could adapt, overcome, and even connect with the unknown. And that made them extraordinary. The anomaly in the station's core had left Eli and Lyra wide-eyed and full of questions. It wasn't dangerous, at least, not in a way they could measure, but it was unlike anything either of them had seen before. For hours they studied the readings, watching tiny pulses of energy flicker and respond to their movements and gestures. "It's incredible," Lyra whispered, her fingers hovering over the control panel. "I've never seen anything like this. It's almost like it's alive, but not alive in the way we usually think of it." Eli nodded, his mind racing. "It's subtle, but I think you're right. It responds to us, our presence, maybe even our thoughts or emotions. I don't know how, but it's definitely interacting with something human inside the station." Lyra tilted her head, thinking. "Do you think it's trying to communicate?" Eli smiled faintly. "Maybe, or maybe it's just curious. Either way, I want to find out more." "We should investigate further on the planet." Lyra's eyes widened with excitement. "You mean go down there, see if it exists on the surface as well?" "Yes," Eli said, determination in his voice. "We can take the shuttle. We'll take sensors, data recorders, and everything we need. If this anomaly is part of the planet, we might learn something amazing." The decision was made quickly. Both of them worked together to gather equipment, double-check the shuttle, and program a course for the planet's surface. They checked the weather readings and aurora patterns. Tonight was the best chance they would have for clear visibility. When they finally stepped into the shuttle, Eli felt a rush of excitement. The engines hummed beneath their feet as the cabin filled with a gentle vibration. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the colorful auroras above the planet. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As I'll ever be," he replied. "Let's see what humans can discover tonight." The shuttle detached from the station and descended toward the planet. Through the cockpit windows, the auroras shimmered like ribbons of light across the night sky. Eli and Lyra watched in awe, their hands brushing occasionally as the shuttle glided through the atmosphere. Once they reached the surface, the alien world stretched out before them. Rolling hills of luminous vegetation glowed faintly under the aurora, casting soft colors across the terrain. Strange crystalline structures jutted from the ground like frozen fountains of light. Eli and Lyra exited the shuttle carefully, their boots pressing into the soft, glowing soil. "Look at this," Lyra breathed. "It's alive in its own way." Eli crouched beside a crystalline structure, scanning it with a portable sensor. The readings were astonishing. The crystals emitted small pulses of energy, almost like the anomaly in the station's core. Each pulse seemed to react to their presence, growing slightly brighter whenever they moved or spoke. "It's reacting to us," Eli said slowly, awe in his voice. "It's like it senses us. It's almost like it understands that we're here." Lyra reached out and touched a small crystal gently. The crystal pulsed in response, glowing brighter where her fingers made contact. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It responds to life, to awareness. Maybe it reacts to consciousness itself." Eli studied the readings more closely. The station's core anomaly, it's connected to this somehow. Maybe the energy field we saw is an extension of this life form, or maybe it's a network. A network that links the planet and the station. Lyra nodded, her excitement growing. "Humans discovered it first because we approached it with curiosity and care. Other species might not notice it. That's kind of amazing." Eli felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity had always been capable of great things: curiosity, exploration, empathy. And here they were, far from home, discovering something no one else had ever seen. They were small, ordinary humans, but their courage and intelligence had allowed them to witness the extraordinary. They moved carefully among the crystalline structures, documenting every pulse, every reaction. Each step they took seemed to send ripples through the crystals, glowing brighter or shifting colors as if responding to their presence. Eli marveled at the connection. They were literally affecting the planet with their curiosity and awareness. "Do you think it's friendly?" Lyra asked, her voice soft. Eli thought for a moment. "I think it doesn't know right from wrong, but it's curious like us. It reacts to care and attention. If we approach it with understanding, maybe we can learn from it." They continued their investigation, moving to a small clearing where the crystals formed a circle. The pulses there were stronger, synchronized, almost like a heartbeat. Eli knelt down, placing his hand near one of the crystals. It pulsed in response, sending a warm glow up his arm. "It's beautiful," he said. "It's like it can feel what we feel, our emotions, maybe even our courage." Lyra placed her hand on his. "It's responding to both of us. Together, that's incredible. We're not just observers, we're participants." Eli smiled at her. "Humans have always been like that. We explore, we feel, we create. And sometimes we discover things that change the way we see the universe." For the next few hours, they documented every detail. They measured energy pulses, recorded the patterns of light, and observed how the crystals interacted with their surroundings. As they worked, they discovered a remarkable pattern. The pulses intensified whenever they performed acts of kindness or cooperation. When they helped a floating seedling back into the soil, the crystals pulsed brighter. When they laughed or spoke with care, the light deepened. "It's responding to our humanity," Lyra whispered, awe in her voice. "Our courage, our care, our connection." Eli nodded. "This is what HFY, humanity yeah, really means. Our strength isn't just in our minds or technology. It's in our ability to care, to think, to connect with the universe and with each other." As the aurora reached its peak, the crystals formed a radiant circle of light, pulsing in harmony with the planet's energy and with Eli and Lyra's presence. They watched in silent wonder, hand in hand, realizing that humans, ordinary, small, fragile humans, could inspire reactions in the universe itself. Lyra turned to Eli, her eyes shining. We have to share this. Everyone needs to see it to understand what humans can do when we approach the unknown with curiosity and courage. Eli nodded. Yes, but first, let's take a moment to just be here. We discovered this together. That's important too. They sat among the glowing crystals, letting the pulses wash over them, feeling the rhythm of the planet and the universe. For Eli, it was more than just a discovery. It was proof that courage and connection could reach beyond the limits of human understanding. It was proof that humans could make an impact in ways no one had imagined. And as the auroras shimmered above and the crystals pulsed around them, Eli realized something even more profound. Courage was not just about speaking one's feelings or solving a problem. Courage was about embracing the unknown, working together, and trusting in the human spirit to create light in the darkness. Lyra leaned her head on Eli's shoulder. You know, she whispered, this is just the beginning. We have no idea what else is out here waiting for us. Eli smiled. Then let's find out, together. Above them, the auroras danced and the planet pulsed with life. And for the first time, Eli felt the true power of being human, not just surviving or exploring, but feeling, connecting, and leaving a mark on the universe. Together, they stood at the edge of a new discovery. And together, they would face whatever came next, with courage, curiosity, and the unshakable belief in what humans could do. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of surprises. But Eli and Lyra knew one thing. As long as humans faced it with courage and heart, there was nothing they couldn't touch, nothing they couldn't understand, and nothing they couldn't change. Eli and Lyra returned to the shuttle after their first encounter with the crystalline network. The glow of the planet's surface faded behind them as they ascended, but both of them knew this was only the beginning. The crystals weren't just beautiful, they were intelligent in a subtle, almost spiritual way. And now they had to understand how this network connected to the station. Back in the station, the anomaly in the core pulsed faintly, as if greeting them. Eli floated near the control panel, monitoring the energy flow, while Lyra prepared a series of experiments to test the connection between the crystals and the station. This is incredible, Lyra said, her fingers flying over her tablet. If these crystals are reacting to our presence on the planet and the station is responding to them, it's like we're part of a living system. The planet and the station are connected in ways we've never imagined. Eli nodded. It's more than just a discovery. This could change everything we know about life beyond humans, and it's all reacting to us. Lyra smiled. Humans again. The next day, they suited up and returned to the planet. This time, their goal was more than observation. They needed to map the network. They carried portable sensors, drones, and holographic projectors to create a three-dimensional model of the crystalline structures and their energy pulses. As they approached the site from the previous day, the crystals pulsed brighter, as if recognizing them. Eli and Lyra shared a glance, feeling both awe and anticipation. The drones lifted off, scanning the structures and recording every pulse of light. As the data streamed back to their tablet, a pattern began to emerge. The crystals formed a vast network, extending for miles across the landscape. The pulses moved through the network like a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, and the rhythm changed whenever Eli and Lyra interacted with the network in a thoughtful or cooperative way. It's a planetary communication system, Eli said, voice full of wonder, but not one built by hands, built by life itself. Lyra's eyes widened. It's a living planet, or at least it behaves as if it's alive. It senses us, responds to us, maybe even learns from us. Eli and Lyra spent hours testing the network. They moved together through the crystalline fields, touching crystals, speaking softly, and performing small acts of kindness, like relocating floating seedlings or gently brushing dust off the luminous structures. Each action caused subtle ripples through the network, and the energy pulses grew brighter and stronger. "Look at this," Lyra said, pointing at the holographic model. "Every pulse corresponds to our movement and emotional state. It's like it knows what we're feeling." Courage, curiosity, empathy, they all change the rhythm. Eli smiled. "That's amazing. Humanity in action, leaving an imprint on the planet itself." Hours passed, and the sun began to rise over the alien horizon. The auroras faded, but the crystals continued to glow, adapting to the new light. Eli and Lyra sat among them, reviewing the collected data. They realized that this network was far more complex than they could have imagined. "Do you think this energy field extends to the station permanently?" Lyra asked. "Possibly," Eli said. "If it's connected, it might be reacting to human presence even when we're not on the planet. That could explain the anomaly in the core. It's aware of us." Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "It's like the planet recognizes human curiosity and courage. Maybe it rewards those qualities, and maybe it trusts humans in a way no other species can earn." Eli considered her words. "That's HFY at its best, isn't it? Our ability to feel, think, and care, our courage and empathy can touch even alien life." They decided to explore deeper into the network, moving away from the areas they had already mapped. The crystals became taller, more intricate, forming arches and tunnels that glowed faintly. Eli and Lyra carefully stepped through the crystalline paths, scanning every detail. At one point, Eli reached out to touch a particularly large crystal. As soon as his fingers brushed the surface, a wave of energy rippled through the network. The pulses synchronized with his heartbeat, and the crystal emitted a soft hum that resonated through the ground. "It's communicating," Eli whispered. "It's not using words, but it's sending something. I can feel it." Lyra placed her hand over his. "I can feel it too. It's peaceful, encouraging, like it wants us to understand, not fear it." They continued through the crystalline network, discovering small pockets of light and energy that seemed to store knowledge. Eli pointed a scanner at one of these pockets, and the readings suggested an exchange of energy that could correspond to information. "It's a living library," he said, awe in his voice. "A repository of the planet's history, energy patterns, maybe even consciousness." Lyra nodded slowly. "And it's reacting to humans. We're part of the story now." The duo spent the rest of the day documenting the network. They discovered that the pulses responded most strongly when they worked together, trusted each other, or acted with kindness. Every action, no matter how small, caused ripples through the system. "This is more than science," Lyra said softly, her eyes shining. "It's proof that humans, our curiosity, empathy, and courage, can make a difference beyond our own world." Eli squeezed her hand gently. "That's what I've been trying to say all along. We don't need to be the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced. Our strength is in our hearts and minds. That's what makes us extraordinary." As night fell again, the auroras returned, painting the sky with ribbons of light. The crystals pulsed in harmony with the sky, their energy flowing in synchrony with Eli and Lyra's movements and emotions. They stood together, feeling the pulse of the planet and the connection it had with them. This is only the beginning," Eli said, gazing at the glowing network. "There's so much more to understand, so much more we can learn." Lyra nodded. "And we'll discover it together." For hours they remained among the crystals, mapping, studying, and learning. Each discovery brought new questions. How far did the network extend? Was it unique to this planet, or were there other planets with similar living systems? Could humans interact with them, or even influence their growth and development? Eli and Lyra knew one thing for certain. The universe was full of mysteries, and humans had the courage, curiosity, and empathy to explore them. They didn't need weapons or dominance. They didn't need to fight or conquer. Their strength lay in their ability to think, care, and connect. Finally, exhausted but exhilarated, they returned to the shuttle. The planet glowed beneath them, a living network of energy and light, responding to their presence, their courage, and their curiosity. Eli and Lyra looked at each other, smiling, knowing that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a reminder that humans, despite their smallness in the vast universe, could shine brighter than any alien light. As the shuttle lifted off, the energy pulses from the crystals seemed to follow them, reaching out to the station, to the humans who had first discovered them. Eli felt a deep sense of pride. They had not only explored, they had connected. Back at the station, the anomaly in the core pulsed in harmony with the readings from the planet. Eli and Lyra realized that the human touch, the human courage and empathy had awakened something extraordinary, a bond between humanity and the living planet. And as they looked out of the shuttle window at the vast expanse of stars, Eli felt a renewed sense of purpose. The universe was full of wonders, and humans, small, ordinary, fragile humans, had the power to explore, understand, and leave a mark. Not through force, but through courage, curiosity, and heart. Lyra squeezed his hand gently. "We have a lot more to discover," she said softly. Eli smiled. "And we will together." Above them, the auroras danced, the crystals pulsed, and the universe whispered its secrets to those who were brave enough to listen. For Eli and Lyra, the adventure was far from over. And for humanity, the possibilities were limitless. Eli and Lyra floated in the station's observation deck, staring at the faint pulse of energy that had appeared in the core. It was subtle, but it felt alive, an echo of the crystalline network they had discovered on the planet below. They had spent days analyzing the data, running simulations, and reviewing the recordings from their fieldwork. "It's not just reacting to us," Lyra said quietly, her eyes tracing the energy patterns on the monitor. "It's trying to communicate." Eli nodded, leaning closer to the holographic display. "But it's not using language like we do. It's sending patterns, pulses of energy, synchronized with our own presence. It's intelligent in a way that's completely alien, yet somehow human-readable." Lyra smiled. "I think it's teaching us, or at least inviting us to participate." Eli's heart raced. They had already realized that human courage, curiosity, and empathy affected the crystalline network on the planet. Now it seemed that the station itself was part of the system, an extension of the living planet, bridging the void between the stars and humanity. "Do you think it can sense more than just us?" Eli asked. "Other humans, other emotions, even our collective decisions?" Lyra paused. "Maybe we've only touched a fraction of its network. Imagine what it could respond to if it connected with humans across the planet or the galaxy." The thought filled Eli with awe. Humanity, small and fragile in the universe, had the ability to influence life forms that had existed long before humans were even born. And all it took was curiosity, cooperation, and courage. "Then we need to learn from it," Eli said. "We need to understand what it wants to teach us." They suited up again and returned to the planet, this time with a larger plan. They brought drones capable of mapping the entire crystal field and a set of portable energy sensors designed to interact safely with the network. As they landed, the crystalline network pulsed brightly, almost as if recognizing them. The auroras above mirrored the energy below, creating a bridge of light between the sky and the planet. Eli and Lyra felt a thrill of anticipation. The duo moved carefully through the crystalline arches, observing the patterns of pulses that shifted with their presence. The network seemed to respond strongest when they worked together, trusted each other, and acted with thoughtfulness. "Look at this," Lyra said, pointing to a cluster of crystals. "They're forming patterns that almost resemble our interactions. Every cooperative action we take creates a visible energy echo." Eli's eyes widened. "It's a record, or maybe a reflection. The planet is showing us the impact of our presence, our humanity." They continued deeper into the network, discovering a large central chamber formed entirely of glowing crystal pillars. The energy pulses here were far stronger, synchronized in a rhythm that resonated deep within their chests. Eli and Lyra realized that this central hub might hold the key to the network's intelligence. Eli reached out and touched one of the pillars. The pulse surged, spreading through the entire chamber, and a gentle vibration filled the air. Lyra placed her hand on another pillar and the pulses intensified. Together, they felt a wave of understanding, not in words but in sensations, connection, awareness, trust, and courage. "It's alive," Lyra whispered, "and it's teaching us how to be better humans, how to connect with each other, with life, and with the universe." Eli smiled. HFY, humanity, yeah, not because we're the strongest or fastest, but because we can touch the unknown with heart, mind, and courage. The chamber responded to their thoughts and actions, pulsing in harmony with their emotions. Eli and Lyra experimented, moving through coordinated patterns, speaking softly, laughing gently, and performing small acts of care. The energy responded immediately, illuminating the chamber in waves of color that reflected their shared presence. This is incredible," Eli said. "It's like a mirror of human potential. It shows us what we can achieve when we act with courage and kindness." Lyra nodded. "It also shows us that our presence matters. Even small actions can resonate far beyond what we imagine. The universe notices humans who care, who explore, who connect." They spent hours interacting with the network, mapping its energy flows and observing how it responded to their combined efforts. Each pulse seemed to reinforce a simple truth. Humans were not just survivors or explorers. They were creators of understanding, capable of forming bonds with life that transcended species, planets, or even consciousness itself. Finally, they returned to the station, carrying a wealth of data and a renewed sense of purpose. The anomaly in the core had synchronized with the energy patterns they had collected, creating a faint glow that pulsed in harmony with the crystalline network below. "Look," Lyra said, pointing at the monitor, "it's thanking us or acknowledging us. Whatever it is, it recognizes humans as part of its system." Eli felt a surge of pride. Humans can make a difference. Not by fighting, not by conquering, but by acting with courage, curiosity, and empathy. That's our greatest strength." Lyra smiled. "And this is only the beginning. Imagine what humanity can learn from other worlds, and imagine how other worlds might learn from us." The station's crew gathered to witness the phenomenon, their faces lit by the gentle pulses from the core. Everyone could feel the energy, the subtle but unmistakable presence of the network. It was a shared moment of wonder, a proof that humans could inspire, communicate, and connect with life in ways that no other species could. One crew member, an engineer named Mara, whispered to Eli, "It's like the universe is responding to us. Like it knows we're here and it wants to help us understand." Eli nodded. "Exactly. Humans aren't just passengers in the cosmos. We're participants. Every act of courage, every moment of curiosity, every bit of kindness, it all matters." As the auroras shimmered across the planet below, Eli felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He thought of the journey that had brought him here, confessing his feelings to Lyra, navigating zero-G chaos, exploring the crystalline network, and discovering humanity's place in a living universe. It had begun with a simple act of courage, speaking his heart. And now that courage had expanded into something far greater, a recognition of the human spirit itself. Lyra squeezed his hand gently. "Do you realize what we've done?" she asked softly. "Yes," Eli replied, smiling. "We've shown that humans, small, ordinary humans, can touch the universe in extraordinary ways. We've proven that our courage, empathy, and curiosity matter. That's what HFY is really about." Together, they returned to the observation deck, watching the stars above. The planet below pulsed with life, its energy flowing through the network, reaching the station, and reflecting the courage of two humans who had dared to explore, connect, and understand. Eli thought of the countless humans across the galaxy, of the ordinary acts of bravery and curiosity that went unnoticed every day. And he realized that all those acts, multiplied across billions of hearts and minds, could create ripples far greater than anyone human could imagine. Lyra leaned against him, whispering, "The universe is alive, and it responds to those who care." Eli nodded. "And humans care. That's our gift, that's our strength, that's why we shine." As the auroras danced across the sky and the crystalline network pulsed below, Eli and Lyra understood a truth that would stay with them forever. Humanity's power did not lie in conquest or force, but in courage, curiosity, empathy, and connection. The station hummed softly, the planet pulsed beneath, and the universe seemed to watch with quiet approval. Eli looked at Lyra and smiled. "We came here to discover the unknown, and we did, but more than that, we discovered ourselves. We discovered what humans are truly capable of." Lyra returned his smile. "And now the universe knows too." Together, they watched the stars, the auroras, and the glowing crystals. Humanity had reached out with heart, mind, and courage, and the universe had responded in kind. And for the first time, Eli understood fully. The greatest adventure was not just exploring space. It was exploring humanity itself, and realizing that even the smallest, most ordinary humans could make the cosmos brighter. The adventure was far from over, but one thing was certain. Humanity, bold and brilliant, had left its mark on the universe.